Now, how do people feel about the Republican Party? Turns out, not good. According to this a new poll, a Pew Research Center poll, more than half of the people in the United States have an unfavorable view of the Republican Party. Now get this, it is so bad that they have gotten the highest negative rating for the GOP in 24 years. Ouch. So how bad? How bad is this, right? Well, it turns out that 62% of people polled say that they have an unfavorable view of the GOP. GOP, they suck. Republican Party sucks balls. Hey, I didn't say it. The American people said it. And only 33% of respondents say that they have a favorable impression of the GOP. So that is a third. A third of the country is like, yeah, GOP. Yeah, they're all right. We have a favorable impression of the Republican Party. The rest are like, yeah, fuck those clowns. That's a disaster. And it's actually a pretty big shift since last fall when they last did this poll. Now, 37% of people viewed the GOP favorably, and 58% viewed it unfavorably. So it was a bit less, but it was still more than half the country that still hates the Republican Party. Now, here's the most interesting part of this change. Now, you think it might be because of liberals or Democrats, progressives. No. The biggest shift actually came from the Republican voters hating their own party. Now, maybe they realize that the Republican establishment hates the crap out of them and only, goes to them for the votes. But you could also say the same about the Democratic Party. At least I do. But of course, the numbers, they would disagree with me. I'll get to that later. Now, 68% of Republican voters view their party favorably. Now, that's pretty good, right? That's over 2/3. But it's actually down from 79% last fall, when when over 3/4 of Republican voters were like, yes, GOP. Now, I've got a couple of ideas on why that is. First, the Republican Party has gotten absolutely nothing done since taking Congress. Remember, they've got the House and the Senate. And they have done? What have they done? Nada. Now, that's a good thing. That's actually a good thing for America, right? They didn't do anything terrible. But they also haven't done anything good, anything that is actually popular with the American people. For example, they could do something about money in politics. 84% of Americans, including most Republicans, think that money has too much influence on our political system, on our political process. What has Congress done in this? Nada. In fact, Congress is trying to do the opposite. They're in favor of putting more money into politics. Republican politicians, they're in favor of putting more money into politics. Now you can say, well, Donald Trump is different. Donald Trump's different. He points out that Congress is bought, that our politicians are bought. He'll point out that he purchased Hillary Clinton. He gave her money and she went to his wedding. Wow. Well, but Donald Trump, he's running as a Republican, but Donald Trump doesn't want to do anything about money in politics. He just says, well, I'm not raising money from, like big corporations or whatever. No, I'm self-funding my campaign. I don't want to be purchased like everyone else is purchased. That doesn't mean I'm actually going to do anything to fix the system. No, absolutely not. I'm just going to brag how I'm not part of that system. Classy, right? But look, they haven't done anything about money in politics. Well, they haven't done anything about anything. Any of the issues that actually matter to the American people, they do nothing on. And in fact, they go out of their way to block anything that is popular. For example, background checks. Like something like 90% of Americans are okay with expanded background checks for gun purchases. What do the Republicans do? They block it. Even NRA members are like, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's not restricting my rights. In fact, that makes gun owners look better because it actually makes us look more responsible if someone has to pass a background check to get a gun. We don't like all this negative press from these mass shooters. We don't like all the negative stories about people with guns. No, I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment, and there's a lot of good owners out there, gun owners out there, that are actually smart, that are actually, they treat their guns as something serious and not like toys, right? They don't want that bad press, and they actually agree with background checks. But what does the Republicans in Congress do? What does the Republican Party do? They do absolutely nothing. In fact, they say we should give people more guns. We got a gun problem. Not enough guns. We need to fix that. No wonder most of the American people tend to hate you, because you not only suck at doing anything, but you also block stuff that the American people overwhelmingly want. They haven't done anything for the Republican base either. Now, a lot of them want to repeal Obamacare, right? Well, they haven't done anything about that, and that's a good thing to us. But for Republicans, they're like, you haven't done a damn thing. The only person that's tried to do anything about it was Ted Cruz. But he shut down the government to do it, and it didn't do a damn thing. So it was a waste of time, and it was a waste of our money, because we're taxpayers. We don't want you shutting down the government over that. Yes, we want you to do something about Obamacare, but we don't want you to shut down the government and do bullshit to do it. So, as I said, they have not done anything for the Republican base, but all they do is throw out red meat. Here's the case. Here's transgender bathrooms. Here you go. Have at it. Keep voting for us. Yeah, it turns out most people are going to look at that stuff and go, that's not going to help the country. That's not a real issue. Who cares where someone pisses? Let's do something that's actually supposed to help America, that's supposed to help small businesses. They don't do that. They don't do that because they don't believe in doing their jobs. And that's why people don't like them. Now, let's go to the Democratic side. Now, views of the Democratic Party have actually remained relatively stable. 45% of the people say that they see the Democratic Party favorably, while 50% have an unfavorable view. Okay, look, that's not great. They still have a 50% unfavorable, but 45% favorable, not nearly as bad as the Republican Party. Now, when you look inside the party, 88% of Democrats have a favorable view of the party, which is 20 points higher than the Republicans' ratings of the GOP. Well, it turns out most Democrats are like, yeah, the Democratic Party is fine. Now, I'm probably one of the ones who disagree. I don't think the Democratic Party is fine at all at this point. I think they're too right-wing. They're too corporatist. Yes, they're better on the social issues, but social issues aren't the only issues in America. There are also vast economic issues that really need some work. So while I do like a lot of the rhetoric that comes out of the Democratic Party, I unfortunately don't like some of the actions. In fact, the Democratic Party is actually attempting to stop President Obama from lowering prescription drug prices. The fuck, Democratic Party? Turns out two of the people, and I forget the congressmen who are going against this initiative by President Obama, are paid by the pharmaceutical industry. That's the kind of shit that we don't like. So at least that's the stuff that bothers me, and I think it bothers a lot of, I'm pretty sure it does bother Democrats, but I think maybe they see it's that the Democratic Party is better than those assholes, so yeah, I'm in favor of people who are better than those assholes over in the Republican Party. So I get that. Now, the poll also shows that women, Black, and Hispanics, no surprise, were more likely to have a favorable opinion of the Democratic Party than of the GOP. That is no surprise. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that most Democrats don't say terrible things again about minorities. I mean, I can think of a couple examples. For example, keeping young African Americans, or I'm sorry, what was the saying? Bringing them to heel. Specific politician said something about that back in the 90s or so, but you know, whatever. Anyway, now I've got one more thing on this. The Republican Party is literally dying. Younger Republicans, it turns out, in this survey, are actually less conservative than the older Republicans. Even younger Republicans are becoming more liberal, less conservative, although they identify as Republicans. And the older ones, the more conservative Republicans, happen to be dying off. Now that means that either the Republican Party has to change or it completely dies out. Either way, the result is good for America.